Good evening, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the FWCS Board of School Trustees. We begin this evening, like we do each evening, with a Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we have roll call of members.
Good evening, Steve Corona from the 5th District.
Julie Hollingsworth, District 1.
Jennifer Mathias, District 2.
Ann Duff, Member at Large.
Riley Booker, District 4.
Noah Smith, District 3.
And to my left, we have Superintendent Dr. Mark Daniel and Clerk of the Board, Angie Filler. Sorry, yes. And I'm Maria Norman, President of the Board, also a member at large. We begin tonight's meeting with awards and recognition. We have the All-State Jazz Band. Steve, can you do that one?
Sure.
Thank you.
It is recommended that the board recognize Northside High School Jazz Band students for participation in the All-State Jazz Band, and that was held here at the Embassy. Annually, the Indiana Jazz Educators Association offers both a junior All-State Jazz Ensemble for grades 7 through 9 and an All-State Jazz Ensemble for grades 9 through 12. These ensembles feature outstanding student musicians of IJEA, as well as students in good standing of their school's jazz program. The ensembles perform as a culminating event for the Indiana Music Education Association Conference. And so as I call your name, would you please come forward? And even if students are not here, we're going to mention them as well. With the All-State Jazz Band, Liam Campbell Carpenter. And Jackson Prescott. We have two additional individuals with the Junior All-State Jazz Band, Ruby Campbell Carpenter. Sounds like one talented family there. And help me with his name, Mia? No. The G is silent. And David West, the principal, the proud principal at Northside, is also with us.
Congratulations.
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 All right, next up we have the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. Julie.
It's recommended that the board recognize the Fort Wayne Community School students who won national and regional awards for Scholastic Art and Writing. The Scholastic Art and Writing Awards is the nation's longest-running awards for recognizing creative teams. Students are celebrated locally and nationally with awards, exhibitions, publications, and scholarships. Please come forward as your name is read so that we may congratulate you. From Northside High School, Augie Colchin, Silver Key in Fashion, Dominic Dillander, honorable mention novel writing, Sophia Firestein, gold key, silver key, and honorable mention in drawing and installation. Talented. Aristotle Hackbush, gold key in ceramics and glass and art portfolio, silver key in photography, and honorable mention in ceramics and glass. Wow. Natalia Johnson, honorable mention photography. Angel Kang, honorable mention digital art. Is that correct? Kang? Okay. And Myo Kong, honorable mention ceramics and glass. Aiden Moore, silver key digital art. Jacqueline Shackelford, honorable mention in drawing and illustration, confet, gold key ceramics and glass. Did I do okay? Okay. Alistair Upton McGarity, gold key, silver key, honorable mention, all in digital art. And also with us, we have Bronte Fry, facilitator, Amy Schmitz, facilitator, Alan Winker, facilitator, and David West, again, principal of Northside.
Need 2 rows.
Is there artwork on public display, Mr. Principal?
It is at the Fort Wayne Museum of Art.
Okay,
Awesome.
I have to go see it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good job, you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, good job. Well done.
Are you up and running, Jennifer? No? Okay. All right, next up we have the unit.
now we have
Oh, sorry.
Snyder
Thank
High
you.
School. So from Snyder High School, we have Caleb Lawson, silver key in sculpture, Ava Robertson, silver key in ceramics, and Sora Stolmeyer, honorable mention in ceramics. Summer Starks Drury is a facilitator, and thank you. Thanks for being with us, Summer. And Chad Hissong, principal of Snyder.
Oh.
I'm sure they're very busy. From Southside High School, we have Mariah Grimm, silver key in mixed media, Caitlin Daling, silver key in fashion, Parker Offhouse, gold, silver, and honorable mention in photography and film and animation. Jennifer Sloan, facilitator, and Southside High School principal Zach Harrell.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And from New Tech Academy at Wayne, we have Sally Guest, gold key in poetry, Gabriel Hesting, silver key in short story, Grace McDonough, gold in photography, Jack Melton, gold key digital arts and honorable mention photography, Nina Robinson, silver key in photography, Reese Shacombe, honorable mention in poetry, and Jacob Bolivia, honorable mention personal essay and memoir. And facilitator Ashley Toy, and Wayne New Tech director Emily Oberlin. Congratulations. That's it.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Unity Performing Arts Foundation Teacher Recognition. Jennifer.
It is recommended that the board recognize Veronica Towns for her work with Unity Performing Arts Foundation. Veronica Towns is a cosmetology teacher at the Career Academy at Anthus. Unity Performing Arts Foundation would like to recognize her for her recent completion of the USTI's Trichologist Business. Did I get that wrong?
Trichology.
Okay, business development course, thank you. They salute her untiring desire to continue advancing her knowledge, sharpening her skills, and the impact she makes on the lives of the students she teaches.
She did not realize she was getting this. That's why she.
Oh, no. Congratulations.
So this is not about the pathway?
That's really cool.
When it's done, we need to be educated on what Tri-College's business is.
Exactly, I'm dying to know.
It's actually.
There's a microphone right over there.
No. I talk long. No, just kidding. Oh my God, this is amazing. So I just want to say I've been at Fort Wayne Community School, I feel like all my life. I graduated from the Career Academy in '85, and then I became an instructor. I've been there since '96. Thanks to one of my teachers who came to my salon and asked me to come over. But anyway, so as I continued my studies abroad in every subject that there were, that was connected to the program, trichology was something I was always interested in. And what that is the study beneath the scalp. So it studies, and the focus is on alopecia, hair loss of all different times, scalp disorders, and just different things going on with the hair. So some of the things that people are not looking into today in the salon, and that the dermatologists feel like they don't get paid to do. So I would be the bridge between the cosmetologist and the dermatologist. So, yeah, much needed, trust
I was
me.
going to say, you're in a position to recognize that more, in a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of people haven't heard of it, but now, with Google, you can Google it, and then you'll see more. I know when I did my studies, it was actually connected to Columbia University in New York, the First Presbyterian hospital. And so there's a lot of research that's going on, and doctors, some doctors were in my class, but a lot of people are finding out that there's a serious need to study hair loss a little further now. And so I'm trying to connect that studies to my cosmetology classroom and program too. So
Interesting.
it's exciting. I got to be careful what I share with some people.
So how many, first of all, Ms. V, I just want to thank you for everything that you do over there at the
Thank
Career
you.
Academy, as my daughter is your student, and
Oh, wow.
Lexi.
Oh my God. Lexi, where is she?
No, she's not.
I know.
It's too boring for her.
Yeah, I know.
But
Yeah, she's
Ms. V
phenomenal.
is a tremendous asset to our Career Academy and the service that she provides our children. So this is just something else, and I don't think a lot of people understand how much cosmetologists really understand about all different parts of, it's not just about hair and makeup and looking good,
No,
but, and you
absolutely.
just proved to us, yeah, how farther in advance you can get. So with this trichologist, that I didn't say right, how many people are studying that, would you say?
I would say not that many, but let's just focus on Indiana. I think that I'm probably number 4 as far as, trichologists, and that would be for the entire state of Indiana. So
You get to offer that, in your class.
absolutely,
Another
yes,
they can learn.
yes, absolutely, as well as in my salon. But yeah, so there's so much to it, and as I said, as some people think it's just for women, and that women are focused on hair loss, but there's a lot of men that really have, they deal with a lot of things pertaining to hair loss, and going bald it has become the norm and people don't want to deal with it. That's why you see so many guys, they just shave their head. So everybody now is, looking like Michael Jordan. And everybody don't have the right head shape for that. So we need to study further and see what we can do to help keep the hair on the heads longer, men and women.
Well, thank you so much. I
Yes.
know that you've been so involved in the community and you pour into those students, and you say you've been working with them since 1996. I know some people don't realize that we have this amazing program, how much value it is for our kids to be able to have access to that here while they're in school. They
That's
save
right.
a ton of money. I went to
$18,750.
That's right.
to have an educator who's so invested in her students and her own professional development that she's invested in furthering and setting something that is uncommon. It's just hats off to you.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. There's so many different, and I challenge everybody to look further into cosmetology. Unfortunately for us, some people look down on cosmetology because they look at what some people say is their income, not realizing that everybody don't claim the true income. I mean, and that's not just cosmetology, that's a lot of what you call self-employed people. And so that's one of the ways we get a bad rap with that. But there's so many angles, and I always tell people, without cosmetology, the world wouldn't really, keep going around. Because if you think about every arena, people need some type of hair beautification service. Hollywood definitely would not function without us, for sure. But just on every level. And then you think about people that's dealing with things like cancer, and then you have to be with them and work through them with that. We were a wig bank forever here at the Fort Wayne Community School with the Cancer Society. And people could come to us right across the street and get a wig, and I would customize that wig at no cost for them. There's so many different things that we can do with our program, and that's why I have been there, and I've been loving it because it just keeps giving and keeps giving back to the community in all ways, especially through my students like Lexi, who loves the program. So, yeah, so much more to it.
Madam
Then,
President.
as you said, the makeup and the beauty part. Yeah.
Madam President, before our guests excuse themselves, I wonder if I could ask the photographer a question. And Marshall White from Unity, can you tell us a little bit about your upcoming concerts?
I can say the reason why we chose to honor Veronica is because about 12 years ago she came to be a part of Unity Performing Arts as a volunteer. And so she offered hair and makeup services for Unity's concerts. And so all of these kids were getting professional care, hair and everything done. And there were times we were trying to pay her and she was like, no, that's for the organization. And so a lot of her donations and her service is gone unnoticed here in the community because they don't really know she's just not a great teacher. She's also a community ambassador. She has given back to this community richly. And so that's why we decided to honor her and to give her some props, give her her flowers right now while she's living. And because all of us need to be encouraged. And so we're looking for concerts probably. I have the Voice of Unity program is being rebuilt because after COVID, I lost about 48 kids to college. And so now I got little babies. And so we're training these little babies to take the next mantle and to move the organization into the next level. And so we probably are looking at 2024 for our next concert. So,
And I'm sure they'll look gorgeous and handsome.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, there it goes. Sorry, my pages aren't loading. All right. Next thing on the list is the consent agenda, which includes approval of the minutes from our regular meeting on February 13, vouchers and payroll for a period ending February 27th, and payroll for periods ending January 27th and February 10th, and the personnel report.
Madam Chair, I'd move approval of the items listed under the consent agenda.
Second.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Jennifer. Dr. Daniel, was there anything on the personal report that you wanted to?
No, there is not.
No.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. Right. We have no old business, so we'll move on to new business. Sorry, my pages are loading very slowly. Okay. So first thing on the list is Title II, Part A, and
It is recommended that the board approve the FFY 2022 Title II Part A grant supporting effective instruction from the Indiana Department of Education in the amount of $1,581,041.26. Title II Part A funding is provided to schools under the Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA. The allocation is based on enrollments for both public and non-public schools in FWCS attendance area. An amount of $361,185.77 has been allocated to serve identified non-public schools for Title II Part A. The Title II Part A is an entitlement grant provided to supplement the general fund. Monies from Title II Part A will be used to facilitate and implement professional learning. The grant is used for administrators, certified and classified staff, all grade levels. And Ramona Coleman, Assistant Superintendent of Professional Learning, will be available to answer any questions.
thank you. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move for approval.
Thank you. Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Ann. Any questions for Ramona?
So the $1,581,041, Ramona, $361,186 roughly goes to identified non-public schools? Is that correct?
So the $1,581,000 is the total allocation to FWCS.
Okay.
And then we share an equitable portion of that with non-pubs.
So it's really about $1,009,000 and then 361 gets carved off for,
It's actually $1,581,041.26, and then 361 goes to non-pubs.
so we really get about $1,220,000.
Yeah, we end up with right at about $1,020,000 that we end up with.
Any other
So
questions?
basically for FFY 2022, our total allocation, Noah, is $1,500,000. And then out of that, we give non-pubs $361,000 of all non-pubs within FWCS. So then after you subtract that amount that's given to us, that's what you're going to subtract from the non-pubs to the total allocation amount.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, then, is that right? Did I skip one? Oh, here it is, with the, okay. It is recommended that the board approve the FFY 2022 Title IV. Is my brain working right? Is that 4?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Part A grant, student support and academic enrichment from the Indiana Department of Education in the amount of $1,199.22. Part 4, Part A funding is provided to schools under the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA. The allocation is based on enrollments for both public and non-public schools in the FWCS attendance area. An amount of $228,493.55 has been allocated to serve identified non-public schools for Part 4, or Title IV, Part A. Title IV, Part A is intended to improve students' academic achievement by increasing capacity of the local education agency and non-public schools' ability to provide all students with access to well-rounded education. And Ramona is still here to answer any questions. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Raleigh. Any questions for Ramona?
So same concept, we get $1 million and give $228 to non-pubs.
Yes.
And then how do we use this money to improve students' academic achievement?
So Title IV is, think of it as our well-being focused grant for well-rounded education. So out of our Title IV grant, for the portion that's for FWCS, we use it to support health aides that support our nurses within FWCS for well-being. And we also use it when it comes to technology support, because the difference between Title II and Title IV is that Title II, we can use it to support educators and their effectiveness. With Title IV, we can use it for educator effectiveness, and we can use it to also support the technology devices that we support with our teachers and with our students. And so when we think about well-being, conscious discipline, restorative practice, those are professional learning, whether it's us doing internal PL with those dollars and paying teacher stipends with the dollars from Title IV, or us bringing in external consultants to work with the staff and to purchase resources with those materials.
So the prior one was directly for PL for staff, right?
Yeah, the prior
Title II?
one,
The
the Title II.
So this one can be used for students or staff?
So this one can be used for students and staff. When I say that, basically for students and staff, it's the purchase of the technology and the software really that we're using. So when we say students, like from the technology department, if they're wanting Quizno or other programs to be purchased that students actually use, we can use Title IV dollars to pay for those programs.
We can also use it for well-being and other
Yes.
programs like that.
The nice part about both grants is that they can supplement each other. So even though we're using well-being with Title IV, we can also compensate that where if we needed more dollars, it's actually written into both Title II and Title IV grants. So when we think about supporting all teachers, all stakeholders, classified and certified staff in the district with well-being, we can use those dollars from Title II and Title IV.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. All right. Item C, Raleigh.
It is recommended that the board approve this sponsorship and naming agreement with Parkview Health. In preparation for the opening of the AMP Lab at Electric Works, FWCS began soliciting the sponsorship of local companies in exchange for exclusive naming rights to one of our 4 educational studios. This agreement is the 3rd offering of naming rights to a commercial entity in the history of the district. Under the terms of the agreement, the Makeup Studio, no, I'm sorry. The Make Studio. The Make Studio will be named the Parkview Mural Center for Research Innovation Make Studio for 5 years in exchange for a financial sponsorship of $625,000. Questions will be addressed by Mitch Shepard, Director of Philanthropy, and Riley Johnson, Director, AMP Lab at Electric Works.
I move we approve.
Second.
Thanks. Any questions for Mitch or Riley?
In Raleigh's defense, she said make up studio, and I heard make out studio. I didn't know about Raleigh on that one. That was my ears, not your words, sorry.
Can you tell us about the Make Studio? And maybe, did they choose that one on purpose?
Yeah, so I think the Miro team was really intentional. So the Make Studio is our fabrication and prototyping space. So that's the one when you walk in and see the 30 3D printers. It's got that fabrication room where our CNC, our some of our more advanced additive manufacturing resources and our woodworking resources are. And so from day one, the team at Miro has been one of our closest community partners. And so I believe that the Make Studio really resonated with their core values because the work that we've done with them has sprinkled into other experiences, but has really been rooted in that. And so a very tangible example in the fall, one of our community collaborations where they bring us a problem was the Forever in Your Heart initiative, which has to do with pregnancy infant loss. And so a family is provided a memento to remember their unborn child with. And so because we have such advanced capabilities in that space, a cohort of students worked with the team at Miro to develop some new prototypes of that memento. So whether it be through 3D printing, whether it be through laser cutting and engraving, or some liquid manufacturing techniques we have, we were able to produce some options, and now there's a subset of students that have continued that experience and are currently working right now to take the prototypes and turn them into products. And so we've been blessed because I think the Miro team has been one of those community members that when they first heard what AmpLab might be, bought in. And so right now, we've got a group of 10 kids that part of this month of February and into April are spending about half of their time working out of the Miro Center. So they come to us for part of it, but they spend some of their time directly with the team there. And so we're just really excited about their investment in us.
Oh, absolutely. It's great that they are.
What kind of things are those kids doing?
Yeah, so in addition to the Forever in Your Heart initiative, the Miro team supports a program called the Safe Sleep Simulation. Actually, when you think about, if you hear about the Parkview team coming into, I believe it's 8th grade classes, to teach students about how to handle an infant or toddler that they might be a big brother and be watching them nap. So we have a cohort that's working on developing those products for Forever in Your Heart, but we also have a group of students that are working on that safe sleep simulation project from an educational lens. So they're helping the Parkview team develop material that is relevant to 2023 8th grader versus a 1995 8th grader, and that's been really impactful so far.
Is that something they're doing there around the corner at the Parkview space, Electric Works? Is that a?
Yeah, so they're doing it out at Miro by Parkview North. So we're excited, and I think, right, we all know Electric Works is a little bit of the long game, right, where it feels weird that it's like year 8 of it like being official. So at Electric Works right now, Parkview has their active clinic and pharmacy that is very much more on the healthcare front. In the building behind us, tentatively, the Miro team is opening a simulation space in the Innovation Center at Electric Works. And so we're excited, not that the Miro Center out north isn't amazing, but here in the next 12 to 18 months, they'll be in the building behind us. And so when we really talk about activating kids in those relationships, I think we're gonna have to be careful about how much they go over there, because I think they're gonna wanna go over there more than come to us.
I recently saw the YouTube Jake in Fort Wayne, I believe, come through AmpLab, which I thought was a great, if you haven't saw him, there's a man called Jake in Fort Wayne. He goes through a lot of places in Fort Wayne, but he did an interview with Riley, and Riley was able to take him through the whole AmpLab and kind of, I think it's a great piece to share with our community, and probably Mitch would probably agree with that it kind of steps you in and allows people on the outside to kind of see what's going on the inside, which may help us fill that 4th need, right? Don't we have 4 labs and we've got 3 of them filled so far? So I just thought you did a great job with it, and it was a great community piece. So thank you.
Yeah, we've been really excited because the unofficial count is we think we're right at about 1,300 community members, both locally, but also, we've had some people travel into the city as well that have either come to see it or worked hand in hand with the kids. And so I think you're right. Like, I think we're still blessed that the hopes and dreams resonate and are still resonating with people. And so I hate being on camera, but I know that it's a part of the deal to highlight the students. Because I think the last piece to that is like, when you're there, you feel the normalcy. Like they are Fort Wayne kids. They are our kids. They're doing great work. They're also too lazy at times, right? Like just the reality of it is really humanizing. And so we've been really blessed to be able to have people like Jake come in while the kids are there, because the space is beautiful, but who cares without them?
Right.
Well, Abby, if you don't mind, how's it been since Do It Best and everybody else is starting to move in?
Yeah, we've been blessed because it's a little bit of the best of both worlds, right? With our building being positioned on the south end of campus, we very much have our own culture. But then, like, once you go through the forum doors, you really get to see the buzz of activity happening. And so I will always say that I was the most nervous person in terms of, okay, you've got a Do It Best employee that's worked there for 40 years that just got uprooted. Are they going to be frustrated when they see 10, 17-year-olds, skipping to the market? But they've welcomed our kids as much as our kids have welcomed them. So we were really intentional, and we've been really intentional as companies move in to welcome them in different ways. And so with Do It Best, our students hand wrote welcome cards to all 500 employees. And that was something, I was over there a couple weeks ago with their marketing team, and I saw maybe 35 or 40 of them sitting out on people's desks. So I think this year, maybe the next 5 years, the word change will forever encompass our world. And I think because we opened the doors in that environment in terms of every week, it's going to be a little bit different. I think the kids have done really well as new layers have happened, that it hasn't disrupted them the way that I thought it might.
Well, thank you and Mitch for your efforts in this donation, and thank the Parkview Marrow Center for believing in us, along with Three Rivers and the Sherrick Family Foundation.
Any other? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Noah, do you want to do item D?
Sure. It is recommended that the board approve the Cable Fund Access Board non-originator grants from the City of Fort Wayne for a total of $52,926.89. The City of Fort Wayne provides grants for nonprofit organizations within the city through CFAB. Grants are given to nonprofits with the understanding that organizations will provide programming to one of Fort Wayne cable access stations, including LTV. Grants cover some equipment costs for schools. This year, Miami, Portage, Snyder, Northside, Southside, Blackhawk, and Jefferson received nearly $7,000 each, and the IT Academy at Antis received just over $4,000. Tim Moriarty, LTV coordinator, will be here and available to answer any questions we might have.
Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Noah. Any questions for Tim? No. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right. So that leaves us with item E. Julie?
Nice job, Steve. Recommended that the board approve the Cable Fund Access Board Originator Grant for 2023 from the City of Fort Wayne. The City of Fort Wayne provides grants for the operation of the cable access stations, which include centers in the Allen County Public Library, Purdue Fort Wayne Government Access, and LTV at the Anthus Career Center. Grants are given with the stipulation that all access centers will provide training, equipment, and facilities to nonprofits wishing to produce programming that will air on one of the access channels. The monetary grant is based on a percentage of active subscribers to Comcast and Frontier Communications. The 2022 amount received was $159,634.63. LTV is operated by Fort Wayne Community Schools, serving as the K-12 educational access channel for the entire city. The primary purpose of the cable fund is to enhance public, educational, and government access television within the city of Fort Wayne through the effective uses of cable television franchise fee receipts. And Tim Moriarty, LTV coordinator, is still available to answer any questions.
All right, is there a motion on the floor?
So motion.
Second.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Julie. Any questions for Tim?
So you referenced 160,000 roughly, that's what we got last year, and this will be for 23, or that's how much we're getting, or?
It varies every year, and unfortunately, since cable subscription has gone down and more people are going with pay-per-view, the amount we've received goes down a little bit, so.
So this is more, if we got more people watching our YouTube channel, won't really drive it up, but if we're more people watching on Comcast or Frontier.
Exactly.
That will help.
Yeah, we got to get them to watch on cable. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we have item F. Jen, you want to do that? Yeah.
It is recommended that the board approve the purchasing the Versatrans Tyler Drive tablets and E-Link software from Tyler Technologies of Plano, Texas for $303,355. This technology package has been designed specifically for the student transportation industry and will be used by FWCS Transportation to provide more efficient and safe transportation services. Each FWCS route will be equipped with a dash-mounted, semi-rugged Tyler Drive tablet. The system provides drivers with real-time turn-by-turn directions to each stop on their route. Additionally, the system will be used for student ridership and the proper student stop identifications using RFID scan card technology. Since the system is an addition to our existing Versatrans routing system, no RFP was issued as this is a sole source purchase. This will be paid for by the operations fund. Renee Dawson, Director of Transportation, is here with any questions.
Thanks. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thanks.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Raleigh.
Renee had to go to a funeral, so Julia is here if you have questions about the tablets.
Okay.
Can you tell us in layman terms how these will work and what our parents can expect?
Well, as far as in layman's terms, the tablet basically helps direct the driver. If the driver misses a turn or has to pick up extra stops, the tablet will help direct the driver properly. Right-hand stops, can't go over that particular bridge because of weight. It helps the driver through that, opposed to currently that driver would have to call the dispatch center. The dispatch center would have to pull up the route, pull up the GPS, pull up everything to be able to help that driver. So there's delayed reaction there. The ridership would be very beneficial. How many calls do we get a day? My student didn't get off on the stop. We would be able to pull up. They never scanned in on the bus. They're at the school. They got off at Tilly Sue's stop instead of their own stop. You need to go find your child. It helps us communicate with the parents. The parents are more accountable. We're not searching for a child at the end of the day. It's definitely a benefit as far as the parents go. And hopefully, eventually, we could go farther and actually have an app where the parent can actually follow the bus.
Mm-hmm.
We're not at that point yet, but.
So how does the student scan in, and how do we prevent them from losing whatever they have to use?
They will have a card. We're currently talking to the other groups like the food services to try to get them on the same card. So they would get on the bus, they would scan their their card through that, just like they do food services, and find their seat. When they get off the bus, they scan it, that's where they go. The driver will be able to see when the student gets on the bus, what their stop is. The tablet will accommodate for, no student said that particular stop got on the bus from school. It'll redirect. The students will get home faster, so you're not taking extra loops for no reason.
That's great.
So the tablet's going to know exactly what kid is on the bus, and then if there's no one at that stop, did I just understand that correctly?
Right.
If there's no one there for today, they're just gonna
Right.
go on by that stop and go to the next stop.
Right, so if you have one stop in an addition, okay, there's no need to go into that addition, do the loop, how the additions always go around in circles, and then go back out to the next addition. That's a couple minutes that you just lobbed off of the student that's on the bus for 45 minutes, so it helps a lot.
So then each tablet's going to be pre-programmed for, like example, Julie's driving the bus today in this route or whatever, and so the tablet will already know exactly what her route is for the day.
Yep, or Julie calls off sick, so you would actually have to take Julie's route, or half of Julie's route.
Right.
It can be on that tablet and loop you right in.
So who programs all that into, does that happen?
It comes to the
central?
Versatrans.
Okay.
Yeah. It's amazing. I came from East Allen. We had not this company, but we had a different company, and we had the tablets. It's amazingly beneficial to the driver. It really is.
Did
And
you
this
also
is-
have the scan cards for the kids?
East Allen did not have this. They had the ridership, no. But they went through a different vendor, and this vendor, I've seen it in action. It's a lot better.
And so how much longer do you think it'll take a child to get on the bus and scan their card versus them just all filing in, or?
Well, they barely file in now, but.
Orally filing into their seats and sitting there.
I don't think, there will be a learning curve once it gets on there, because they're not used to it, but I wouldn't expect it to be any more complicated for a student to do this way than it is to go through the food line.
Okay.
Yeah.
And prior to this, the bus drivers weren't using any sort of system for GPS.
Nope, we had pieces of paper we had to flip to go through, so that's a distraction all of its own. And, it's not easy. The map is large enough, so those of us who are over 50 when we get off, definitely nice to have the map opposed to trying to figure out how to adjust your eyesight.
So
This is amazing.
Be like Waze, for example, real time, hey, there's a big traffic stop up ahead, you need to reroute or something like that, or will?
Well, when you go off, you veer off, so you take a right instead of going straight, it'll help you reroute to get back on. So it won't necessarily pop up like your Garmin would say, accident on 469, but it will reroute you once you get through. And in the additions, if you're not used to that addition, you can be taking a right turn to a dead end and you're not even knowing it. It's dark, and it would definitely help you when you are going through those loops and those additions.
So the second generation of this technology is going to alert the parent when their student doesn't get on the bus, right? Say,
Yeah.
Billy's still sleeping, get his butt out of bed.
It will, right, the second generation, if we go farther and actually go through and get a parent app, the parent would be able to see and follow the bus and get them there. Right, but what we would be able to do is when the parent calls and says, my child, where is it? You can pull that right up and say, not on the bus, still at school, go call school, or got off on the wrong stop.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
How many calls like that will we get a day? Do we get a day? Do you know?
I don't have a tally, but it is daily.
Hundreds?
No.
Tens?
It's probably in the teens, definitely. It's not huge, but
It's enough.
when you're looking for one kid.
Yeah.
What's the lifespan of these tablets? How long can we expect to be able to use them?
They would have to, it's only a few years, just like any tablet.
Okay. And then the software, will we have to renew the license or do this again next year?
We have an annual renewal anyways with the software.
Okay.
Okay, so that wouldn't be anything new as far as that goes. It would just basically be repurchasing the tablets.
And this will outfit all of our buses that we're using?
Correct.
So the software that we already have, the Versatrans software already has this capability within the software?
No, we're buying an add-on.
So I guess that goes back to her point, then, is the add-on then yearly?
Yes.
Have we seen that?
Did you submit that?
Did we already have that add-on?
Was the bid submitted?
As soon as they approve the money.
So it's part
So
of
it's part of this?
So it's part of this?
Yeah, it's
Right,
tablets
right,
and software.
So
Yeah.
it's not just the devices, it's also the software too?
Correct. The subscription, yes, it's included in the bid.
So then we'll see another recommendation next year than we should for the software itself. If the tablets last 2 years, then we should be seeing a yearly.
I'm new enough, I don't know if she submits that annually for you for the current Versatrans, or if it's just part of.
Jack has the answer.
With,
Yeah, Dan.
Thanks, Jack.
with software, you have an initial purchase. So what you're approving tonight is the tablets and the initial purchase of the software. There is an annual maintenance cost with software. So there will be an annual maintenance cost, but that will not come to the board. That is just a part of the ongoing maintaining of the system. So what you're approving tonight is both the tablets and the software that will be added to the Versatrans system. So it's a module, if you will, that will be added. And then there will be an annual maintenance cost in addition to the annual maintenance cost that we pay right now for the Versatrans routing system.
You know what the software is costing us roughly compared to the tablet cost?
I don't have the line item here, but it is listed out. I have a number in my head that I remember seeing, but I am not going to say it because it's probably wrong.
Jack said I will not be wrong on television. Any other questions? All right. This sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And you want to do item G?
Absolutely.
Thank
It is
you.
recommended that certain checks be removed from the record of outstanding warrants. A complete listing is attached. Indiana Code 511-10.5-2 states that all checks drawn on public funds of a political subdivision of the state of Indiana that are outstanding and unpaid for a period of 2 or more years as of the last day of December of each year are considered void. Attempts are made to notify all persons or vendors who have outstanding checks valued at $10 or more. And Kathy Friend will be here to answer questions.
Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Noah. Any questions for Kathy Friend?
Does this show up on IndianaUnclaimed.com too?
It could,
Okay.
yeah.
I just happened to get that listing this weekend. My wife told me I didn't make the list, so. There's a few individuals that ought to check out our minutes next time because there's $120 is one check, 107. I don't want to name names here, but
There are multiple efforts made to try to contact these people.
Any other questions? No. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. It is recommended that the board approve amendments to the scholarship committee bylaws to conform with current practices. This board last approved amendments to the committee's bylaws in 1985, and further amendment is needed to conform to current committee practices. These amendments create an honorary member position, which will be held by Matt Henry. Additionally, the FWCS liaison, Shanita Bolton, Director of K-12 College and Career Readiness, will assume most of the responsibilities previously held by the committee officers. The administration provided a redlined copy of the bylaws to the board in advance of this meeting. Shanita Bolton will answer any questions about the scholarship committee, and David Amon will, General Counsel, will answer any questions about the bylaw amendment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Julie. Any questions for David? All right, I'm gonna go. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Raleigh, you want to do approval of the members?
It is recommended that the board approve the current slate of scholarship committee members. Under the committee bylaws, each member of this board may nominate a committee member for approval by the full FWCS Board School Trustees. Board members have nominated the following individuals: Nita Auer, Julia Hollingsworth, Daisha Jackson Sanchez, Maria Norman, William Lee, Noah Smith, Janae Johnson, Jennifer Mathias, Alfredo Perez, Stephen Corona, Michelle Bandor, Ann Duff, and Alicia O'Neill, Raleigh Booker. Matthew Henry will serve as an honorary member of the committee, and Shanita is here to answer questions. David is here as well to answer questions.
Thanks, Raleigh. Is there a motion?
Move approved. Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Noah. Any questions?
Are their terms annual, biannual?
Coincide with
otherwise?
you.
Yep, they, I included the bylaws with your materials, but they will serve as long as you serve as a member of the board. And incidentally, we did present the updated bylaws to the scholarship committee. Shanita and I did. Everyone was happy that this is a little bit of overdue maintenance on those.
Since 1985?
Yeah.
Not necessarily about this, but I know when COVID started, we dropped our, you know, on the night that we awarded the scholarships, we had a reception for the scholarship winners and their families. I don't know if we've done that since. So it's kind of nice to meet those students and their families. So I don't know if that was something we were planning on doing again or not. Just throw it out there for your consideration.
Awesome. All those in favor?
Aye.
Noah, you want to do J?
It is recommended the board approve the application for a waiver of 4 instructional days during the 2023-2024 school year. The Union Code requires school corporations to conduct 180 instructional days. HEA 1003 enabled districts to apply for a waiver of various statutes, including the minimum number of instructional days. The length of instructional days at FWCS is well above the legally required minimum amount of instructional time. This waiver asks the state to consider the amount of instructional time received by FWCS students in terms of minutes as opposed to days to enable time for teachers to engage in professional learning and collaboration. FWCS will work with stakeholders to choose appropriate dates. Ramona Coleman, Assistant Superintendent of PL, will answer questions along with David Amon, General Counsel.
Thanks, Noah. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Jennifer. Any questions for Ramona or David?
Do we now take advantage of this situation, or is this new?
This will be new for us for the coming school year, asking for the 4 days as a waiver.
Last year was the first year that we could have requested a waiver of various statutes, and we were one of the districts that decided to wait and see what was approved, and we have now learned from the experience of many other districts, so we decided to request.
And we're thinking of taking advantage of the 4 days for the 23-24 year?
Yes.
Okay.
And when it says that we exceed the legally required amount of time, if you look at minutes versus days, how much, any sense of how much time?
We're required to just do 5 or 6 hours at secondary, 5 for elementary per day. And I don't have the specific numbers in front of me, but we go substantially beyond that every single day.
So kids would go 176 days instead? Is that correct?
Yes.
Any sense or knowledge of the timing on this, so we could announce to parents in preparation of the next school year?
We have selected the days.
Yes, so based upon now, we've selected the dates that we want to submit to the IDOE. Based upon information from the Indiana Department of Ed, if we have approval to move forward, David will submit of the waiver from FWCS to the IDOE. Basically, they shared with us if we submitted in March, then we would know previously before May or by May so that we can announce to teachers those exact dates and the principals, the dates that we be using for next year.
So just so that I'm clear, these are instructional days for the kids that will, the students won't be in school, but will the teachers be using those as PL days? Or will the teachers not be in school either?
Teachers will be in school. It'll be a full day for teachers, building-based day, that teachers will have the opportunity to engage in and collaborate with building level principals, administration team at the building level, especially their quality improvement teams, and looking at their data and what they want that PL to focus around. And then they will have support from district office.
And there will be no students.
There will not be any students on those days.
Let us know when those dates are so we can start planning, okay? I think that that's great that we've taken a look at this and, as David mentioned, saw what was an option or what happened in this last year. And so hopefully we'll have those dates for our teachers in our schools.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I voted aye. All right, this evening for our reports, we have David Marcotte of Indiana Urban Schools Association will be presenting Complexity and Special Education Analysis Report. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I'm honored to be here once again in front of you. I always enjoy coming to Fort Wayne. In fact, I learned something tonight. Trichology? Trichology.
Trichology.
No, it's great. Thanks again. I am the executive director of the Indiana Urban Schools Association, of which Fort Wayne is a valued member. We are an organization of 37 districts throughout the state of Indiana, every corner of Indiana, Fort Wayne, St. Joe, Elkhart, pretty much all of Lake County, most of Marion County, Jeffersonville, Evansville, Richmond, Terre Haute. So we're all across the state. I call ourselves small but mighty because we're just 37 districts, but we represent over 350,000 students in the state of Indiana. So that's about 1/3 of the entire traditional K-12 student population.
What's your small school, Dave?
Smallest school district is Lake Station. The common characteristics, people think, they say, so you have all the big schools. Well, we do have all the big schools like Fort Wayne and IPS and Evansville, but the four common characteristics of an urban schools association member is that it obviously is a district of high diversity, district of higher poverty in the state of Indiana, higher than average enrollment of special education students, and high enrollment of ELL students. In fact, 65% of the entire English language learner student population attends an IUSA school district. And there's a fifth common denominator that I explain to legislators all the time, and that is high mobility students. And I explain that a high mobility student, which has the same academic disadvantage of being children of poverty, is that, let's say you have a teacher with 30 students, and 20 students are there throughout the year. And research shows that if those students stay with you, they're going to achieve. But it's those 10 seats that just come and go to the point where that teacher might have 15 to 25 students in those 10 seats. So that teacher isn't teaching 30 students a year. They may be teaching 45 to 60 students a year, and that has negative academic consequences. So those are the common denominators of the Urban Schools Association. And what I'm presenting with you tonight is a very comprehensive study that was conducted by Policy Analytics, which is a data analysis firm in Indianapolis. And the reason why we contracted with Policy Analytics is that we've noticed for the past several years that the tuition support has been decreasing for schools of high complexity. And the state of Indiana defines a school of high complexity as those that have high numbers of families who enroll in TANF and SNAP benefits, as well as foster care children. Now, that part is a very small piece, so I usually just refer to the TANF in SNAP. And so they did a deep dive into the funding of tuition support that we're going to share with you tonight. This was, it's a relatively new report. It came out in October of last year. And I have been going around the state actually presenting to school boards like yourself. This is number 18 of our 37 districts. I've also presented to the Department of Education, who sent me over to the governor's office. We've testified with Justin Swanson, counsel, to testify down at the State House. And we've also presented this report to individual legislators. It's getting a lot of very good conversation, and hopefully we'll see something done about the information that we're presenting to you tonight. So it's a robust report, 39 pages. I will not go through all 39 pages. We'll be here way too long. But so tonight we'll just talk about some of the highlights. So the first slide I would like to share with you is a historical look back at tuition support. Now we're just talking about tuition support. This is the funding mechanism that the state of Indiana uses to educate children in our public schools. We're not talking about any federal money. We're not talking about the operations money, which is your local property taxes, or any referendum money. This is just the money that comes to you from the state to educate children. You'll see on this blue line, going back, the blue part of this graph, going back to 2015, and by the way, the entire tuition support has increased $1.4 billion since 2015, which sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But you'll see during this report that there's been some shifting in how Fort Wayne and similar schools have not received what we feel their adequate funding. So the blue part of this is the foundation grant of tuition support. The foundation grant is the same dollars that every child receives regardless of where they attend school. So you'll see that I believe it's over $6,300. I can't see that far, but this year it's over $6,300. That's the same amount of money that Fort Wayne receives, that Gary receives, that Homestead receives, that Evansville receives. So that's the foundation grant, which is the largest chunk of tuition support. Our concern, and why we had Policy Analytics look into this data, is this orange part. That is the complexity funding that is provided to school systems to educate children of poverty. And you'll see that that part of this funding is becoming smaller. It was over $1,100 back in 2015, and here we are at $700. So that has been decreasing, and that's very concerning to us. And the fundamental reason why we have complexity funding in Indiana is that that's additional money provided to you in school systems to educate children of poverty. And I know that you use it the same way most school districts use it, to lower class sizes, to provide small group instruction, to provide tutoring, to provide supports, including health care and things like that. In other words, more people are involved teaching children of poverty than children not in poverty. And so that's why that additional dollars are provided, although it's concerning us because it's going down. The green part of this graph is special ed, and it looks like there's 2 years that somehow it didn't come through on the screen. But the green part of this is special education. Now this concerns us as well. I've already mentioned that a identifier of an urban schools association district is higher than average enrollment of special education. The state of Indiana average is roughly 15%, and in the urban schools association is anywhere from 18 to 20%. And as you know, special education is costly, and thankfully we open our doors obviously to all students, but special education is costly, and that's why that's a significant chunk of tuition support as well. You'll notice that in these past 2 years that there's been an increase in special ed funding, and there really has. And then the smaller part of this graph is called the others. That's where you have your career and technical education grant, your academic honors diploma grants, and things like that. And that's just a real small chunk of tuition support. ELL is not in this because it's an outside categorical grant. Now, we just received the House budget that put ELL into tuition support. This is the first time. ELL is a $27 million grant in this biennium each year, but it's outside of this grant. Of tuition support. It's a separate grant. So what has happened here since 2015 is, if you can see this dark line in the middle, and using 2015 as the baseline, tuition support has increased 22%. Special education has increased 38%. That's good. We have a foundation grant. I can't read from here. If somebody could tell me the blue line?
34%.
34%, thank you. And then the smaller grant is much more than that. But look what happens with this orange line. The complexity grant has gone down 39% since 2015. And there's a reason for that. Back in 2015, students would qualify for this grant when they enrolled in their free and reduced lunch program. In 2015, that was changed to what we call direct certification, and that is families enrolling in the TANF and SNAP programs. TANF and SNAP, that's through the FSSA department. They collect the applications, and then on October 1st of prior to the biennium, this past October 1st, 2022, all the applications for TANF and SNAP are sent over to the Department of Education. They create the complexity index, which equates to this complexity number, and that's a concern of ours, because you'll see here in a few minutes as to what's been happening with that. So what does that mean for Fort Wayne Community Schools that this complexity grant has gone down? Well, this next graph is really, really telling. So what Policy Analytics did is that they took every school system in the state and put them in quartiles. So on the very left-hand side of this graph, you have the least complex schools. Those would be the Homesteads, the Carmels, the Zionsvilles, the least complex. The schools that have the least amount of poverty in Indiana are on the left-hand side of this graph. On the right-hand side are the schools that have the most complexity or the most poverty, and that would be like Fort Wayne and Indianapolis Public Schools and South Bend and Wayne Township and places like that. And so as you can see, and we're going to just look at this blue graph, because this is the increase, the average increase in tuition support since 2015. And you'll notice that since 2015, the least complex schools has gone up 2.53% every year, 2.53%. The most complex schools, that increase has gone up 1.76. So as we talk to our legislators about this, we say that we have clearly an equity issue. The most complex schools should not be receiving less money when there's an increase than the least complex schools. And I'm not suggesting at all that the least complex schools don't need the money. They do. We all need the additional money. But there's an equity issue here, and we need to bring that to their attention. And so as we talk to our legislators, as you talk to your legislators, we need to remind them, and they've all seen this. We've talked to so many legislators that some of our legislators even reference this report as they're talking about funding, that there needs to be equity. And so what Policy Analytics did as well on the orange part of this graph is, did that trend continue in the last biennium? Because there was significant dollars put into education in the last biennium. And as you can see, that trend did continue. The least complex schools received a little over 5% each year, and the most complex schools over 3%. So that trend continues, and that trend is very concerning to us. When there's additional dollars, there needs to be equity in funding. This graph indicates that even though I just showed you a graph that shows that the least complex schools are receiving more money each year, the most complex schools still receive a higher per child funding than the least complex schools, and that's the orange part on top. But as you can see, this graph is starting to scrunch closer and closer. So yes, we do. I don't want anyone thinking that I'm saying that the least complex schools are receiving more money. They're not, but when there's an increase, they're receiving a more increase than you are. This graph shows how this money is spent, and what's interesting is that the first 5 categories here are people. These are I get this question a lot from legislators. How are you guys using this complexity money? We need to know, how are you spending it? Well, this graph clearly shows that you're spending it on people. It's teachers, it's paraprofessionals or instructional assistants, it's counselors, it's people. The difference between this and a graph similar that we had 2 years ago when we broached this subject, not as in-depth as this study, is in health services, which I believe is, I can't see that far away, but yeah, it's at 10%. And 2 years ago it was at 7%. And our English language learners is at 3.8%. It was 2% 2 years ago. So those are the two differences in how that money is being spent. I'm going to move a little bit quickly here now. That's the conversation just about the complexity dollars that is very concerning to us. Next is special education funding. And in the last biennium, as you can see, we did have increases in special education. However, I need to show you this one right here. There is throughout the entire state of Indiana, school districts are spending more money on special education than they're receiving, to the tune of, estimated here in 2023, of $122 million. That's a lot of money. You can see that this graph goes back to 2019. It was about the same back then. It grew to 186 million, which didn't show up on the graph. Back in 2021, they put in additional money because we were talking about this 2 years ago. They put in additional money and brought that gap down to 122 million. So as I'm talking to the legislators, they ask me, so what are you asking for? I'm asking for $122 million. Because that's how much districts are spending more than they're receiving. And a lot of them then say, well, how can districts spend more money than they're receiving? Well, you're taking the foundation amount, the complexity amount, and you're having to backfill special education because it's not being fully funded.
Nikki, what's it take to qualify for a kid as special ed? Just a high level. What are some of the circumstances that?
Well, cognitive ability, adaptive behavior, a course of vision, deaf and hard of hearing would be in there, traumatic brain injury, Article 7 eligibility for autism. Is that broad level?
So these are, would you say, as a assistant superintendent of all of our special ed Fort Wayne Community Schools, these are our most vulnerable and maybe at-risk or challenged student population?
Yes.
And we're shorting them from a state level $122 million.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We are, no, an unfunded mandate in many respects.
Thank you.
Because students have an IEP, which is federal law, and you have to provide these services. We're just not getting the funding from the state to fully fund it. This next graph is talking about English language learners, and I know that Fort Wayne Community Schools have a high population of English language learners. In fact, I already mentioned that 65% of all English language learners in Indiana attend just the 37 districts of IUSA. The teal or smaller graph shows that since 2015, that English language learners has increased about 35%, where we're over 72,000 students now in the state of Indiana. The big green part of this graph is the decrease of the complexity, students that are identified as complex. That's where I mentioned earlier that there's a change from the free and reduced lunch, and it goes down. It equates to less funding. And so this is concerning to us because I'm sure you are like most communities in Indiana where you're not seeing the poverty rate go down, but in terms of this identifying number, the legislators are telling us that we are seeing less poverty in Indiana. Now I'm scratching my head a little bit because even during the pandemic this number went down. I don't understand how we could have less poverty during the pandemic. But that's what they're basing this complexity and the reduction of that complexity index on.
David, I'm writing this down, but I want to make sure I get this percentage right. You said that 65% of English language English language learners attend one of the 37 IUSA schools?
That's correct.
65%?
65%.
Do you know that number for special ed?
I don't have specific numbers, I do have percentages. The average in the IUSA would be 18 to 20%. The state average is 15%. And I do know that some of our larger districts that have robust programs, people move to those school districts so we can service their children. And we open our arms and our hearts, of course, to service those children. But you have a higher concentration of higher needs children than some of our smaller rural districts do, because it's a good services.
Well, we have we do deliver great services.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have the Busher Pre-Hear Center.
Yep.
And children that have a difficulty with hearing.
Right.
Those kids come to us.
And we want them, but they should be funded.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Back to EL, you said we can get about $27 million a year?
27, the whole state is $27 million, and I'm gonna go to a,
$375 per student.
well, it's right here. It was $400 and then you're off, it's almost $367. And because it's a static grant, you have less money in year 2 than in year 1, because it's just $27 million per year, and as your population grows, you're getting funded less that second year. Now, the House budget just came out a week or so ago, and they have an increase of 23%. We asked for an increase of 100%, because we know that Fort Wayne and Perry Township in Indianapolis and Indianapolis Public Schools are the three highest, you have the highest population. The 3 districts have the highest population of non-English speaking students in the state. The highest percentage-wise is Goshen, Indiana, and Logansport, Indiana, which is a member of ours. Now, you wouldn't think Logansport is an urban school district, but they are a member of ours because of that very reason. 51% of their school district is an ELL student. 51%.
What's the percent we have?
Of ELL?
Percent of ELL students we have?
It's about 16.3.
So when I made this presentation
How
to...
about special ed, Nikki?
It's at 16.9.
Which is what I thought it would be, yes. So when I made this presentation to Logansport, they were very interested in this conversation. Half of their children are in the program. And so we asked for doubling of that fund because of the overage. And even though we appreciate the 23% that the House has put in there, we're going to be working with the Senate to try and get even higher, because you're spending more than you're receiving. And we all know that you can't have a classroom of 30 students when they're trying to learn English. That's why it's expensive. You have students in class sizes, I would assume, of 5 and 6 and 7 when they're just learning the language. You can't have 30 in a class. That's why it's expensive. It takes more people. And so you'll see on this graph here, this represents the top 50, just the top 50 complex schools in the state of Indiana. So it's all of our members, all 37 of us, plus a few more. And this is how the money is spent and received. So you'll see on the left-hand side that these 50 schools receive $579 million to educate their children. On the right-hand side, you'll see, though, that these 50 schools are spending $670 million. And if you see this little yellow sliver there on the left-hand side, just 50 school systems are spending, I believe that says 13 million. I shouldn't say spending, they're receiving 13 million of the 27 million. So it's almost half just going to 50 school districts of the ELL. And then you look at the right-hand side, those same 50 schools are spending $20 million in ELL. It's a fund that's woefully underfunded. And that's why we're discussing with legislators that is woefully inadequate and that we need to increase that funding. So you'll see that there's a 16%, that little bracket up on top, but that represents is schools like Fort Wayne are having to spend 16% of their money that you're not receiving to educate our special education children. And so if we can fully fund special education to $122 million, you would not have to spend that 16% that you're currently doing to educate special education. It would be then available to be used for its intended purpose, and that is to educate children of poverty. And as we're talking to legislators, I remind them that this isn't just an urban school association ask. If you fully fund special ed, every school system, every charter school system in the charter school in the state will benefit by fully funding special ed. It just benefits Fort Wayne even more because then you can use your complexity dollars the way they were supposed to be used. So that's the crux of this. I just have a few more minutes. I'd like to share this map right here. Whoops. It's here somewhere. There it is. When I'm talking to legislators, this map on the right hand, this is a map of the state of Indiana, obviously, but with all of the school systems. And on the right hand side is concentration of complexity, the concentration of child poverty in Indiana. You can see yourself in Allen County there. You can see Indianapolis. You can see Gary and Hammond and East Chicago. You can see Evansville. But you can also see, and this is what I tell some of our rural representatives, you also see red dots in every county, every city, every town in Indiana. So please listen when we're talking about complexity because it impacts everybody and every school system. It just impacts Fort Wayne more than most. And finally, this is the last graph I'll show you, and that is the difference between free and reduced lunch and the complexity index. The orange part of this that looks like an EKG is every school system in the state of Indiana. The most complex are on the left, so you'd have Gary and East Chicago and Hammond, most likely IPS on the left-hand side. Fort Wayne's closer to that left-hand side. And on the very, very right-hand side, I know that that's Zionsville. That's the least complex school in the state of Indiana. And then the blue line is the complexity index. According to this study, there's a 65% difference between free and reduced lunch and the complexity index. That's a problem. It shows that we are not capturing true poverty. So the final ask that when we're talking to our legislators, the first one obviously is equal funding. Second is fully funding special ed. Third would be doubling the ELL grant. But the direct certification process, which is what they call the TANF and SNAP application process, called direct certification, needs to be modified. It's not working the way that we feel it should be working. And you have this report, and you'll see other parts that show that we're not capturing the true poverty in Indiana. The system, the way it works, and I've already mentioned that on October 1st, prior to the new biennium, that number of complexity gets locked in for 2 years. It's one of the few pieces of data that a school system cannot look at and change and say that it's wrong. And if a family signs up for TANF and SNAP benefits on October 2nd, they're not in your count. The families could move. I'm sure you have families who move, high mobility. The complexity doesn't go with them. It stays here, but you have students who move into you that you're not being funded for too. So to make this number more accurate, we've had conversations with both the House and the Senate about having the complexity tied to ADM every September and February. And we've received very positive comments from legislators who say, why don't we do that? Well, I don't know. That's the system you created, but we suggest that you tie that to ADM because when Fort Wayne reports their ADM every September and February, and currently you're not being able to change your complexity, that would be changed with it. And we know that families enroll and come out and enroll and come out. If we truly want our numbers to be accurate, then we need data to be more accurate too. So our fourth ask for legislators is that we need to use multiple measures. We know we're not going to get it done this biennium or this legislative session, but maybe next time, where most states, in fact, Indiana and Illinois are the only 2 states in the United States that use just TANF and SNAP to identify these kids. Not every state uses the term complexity, but you get my drift. It's the same concept, but only Indiana and Illinois do it this way. Most other states use multiple measures. They do TANF and SNAP, free and reduced lunch. The Census Bureau has information on every one of your neighborhoods. They use census data, title data, There's just lots of data out there we have in the United States that we could use to make this number more accurate. And we're going to ask that we use multiple measures in the future. That's all I have for you tonight. Are there any questions that I might be able to answer for you?
We should have this PowerPoint in my laptop someplace, but I wouldn't bet on it. Is there a chance that we could get a second copy? You did send it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Please use it as you see fit. Send it to your friends.
Terrific data.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the opportunity for me to be here. And Justin and I are down at the State House right now. We're fighting the good fight. So thank you. Well, thank you for being members of IUSA. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all your work. And Justin.
All right, that brings us to board member comments. Steve?
Well, a bit of trivia, since Noah asked the question of David about member districts and Lake Station being the smallest. It's where I had my first year of education, public education, before Lake Station and Hobart came to being. It was once called East Gary because it was east of Gary. And I attended first grade at Henry S. Evans Elementary School, which is actually a part now of the Hobart School Corporation, but we lived in East Gary, or what is now David's Lake Station membership area. It was the only year I took a bus to school. Shorty was the bus driver, and he did not have any of that technology that we approved tonight. I can assure you of that. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Since we're speaking about money and budgets and stuff, so in the budgeting process, for the next 2 years starts in the House, so the House budget is finished, and one of the House emphasis this year was to increase options for Hoosier families in the Choice Scholarship Program. So currently, in a family of 4, if your income is $147,000, you qualify for a full voucher. And to increase options, the House budget wants to increase that to $220,000 for a family of 4. Now, I can assure you, I think I'm pretty confident in saying that's not going to increase their options. That income bracket, they are probably already sending their kids to private school if they want to. This is not an additional option for them, but instead it is funding, it's an upper middle class entitlement. That's what it is. And also, when the House says that they're putting $2 billion of additional money into K-12 schools, almost a third of that is going into the increased funding for the Choice Scholarship Program. So the House budget is now in the Senate, and there's quite a bit of talk from senators who are not quite as keen as this increase as the House is. So, if this concerns you, if you are concerned about spending your tax money on an entitlement that is not really necessary, in my opinion, I would urge you to write your local senators about House Bill 1001, which is the budget for the next 2 years. That's all.
We heard a lot about funding and other things, and I'm going to switch gears a little bit just because I want to talk about our students a little bit, and the other just depresses me. But this week is Read Across America Week, and since we are looking really hard at working on our literacy in our district, I know that there are a lot of schools that are have different things going on each day, and I'm excited to go read to the children at Indian Village on Thursday. Mm-hmm. And I'm also punting for a librarian at a pre-K school because the librarian couldn't make it. I don't know what made anybody think that I look like, or could be a librarian, but I'm going to give it my best shot today to tell the kids how to take care of their library books, and I'm just excited to read to them. So I encourage anybody out there who's watching, pick up a book, even if you're an adult. We all can learn something from a book, and read to a child, read to your dog, whatever it needs to be, but continue to read. That's it.
Okay. I went to Indian Village today to read to 2 different classrooms, so I just want to thank them for inviting me. So that's always a good time to get to interact with our students. I also was invited a week or 2 ago to the library by Memorial Park's ELL class or students because they want to put a tunnel of despair up at the library, which would they are learning about and would share with people in the community about people who are homeless. And so they had to present what they wanted to do, what they wanted to put up to the adults in the library. So they were very nervous, but it was really neat seeing them be very professional in their presentations. They did a really good job, and the library is very interested to have their tunnel of despair on display. It'll if they do it, I think it's right around spring break time. So hopefully that'll get approved and they will get to do that. So they get to learn lots of different things, not just about homeless, but also they build this tunnel out of the PVC pipes, and people get to walk through it, and then we'll have QR codes so they can look up places that they could donate to help. So hopefully that'll be something everyone can look at. And just want a reminder of our education update event at the library in the auditorium downtown this Wednesday, March 1st. Hope you can make it out to hear Jennifer McCormick and Kathy Fuentes-Rourke talk about education and what's happening right now in the legislature. So hope to see you there.
And that's what time?
It is at 6 p.m. Thank you for that reminder.
I had the opportunity last week to tag along with Nikki and experience and really see some of our pre-K special ed programs in our district. It's just amazing the things that we're able to do with our students with limited funding, and I just think we have to reiterate how important it is that those programs are fully funded. I think David mentioned that we accept all students, and we're mandated to provide a certain level of service to them, but it's not funded properly. And so just to piggyback on what Julie said, right, legislators, and let them know that it's really important. It's important to our schools, and it's important to our communities.
I won't follow up with anything better, so I'll just pass. Thank you.
So I also want to thank those individuals who've been contacting us in regards to our health and safety. So some people reaching out to assist us with parents and adults in our community and our buildings. So greatly appreciate that. Keep those coming. We also had a ribbon cutting ceremony at the Jim Kelly Career Pathway Center last week. So that was exceptional. Appreciate that work moving forward, and we will start our pilot program March. So with that, and then hopefully we'll expand that to our 7th and 8th graders the following year. So looking forward to that going on. So a lot of good things happening at the same time. Hearing the conversation here, I want to thank Dr. Marcotte as well as Justin Swanson for their presentation and their time today as well.
Thanks. I will just had some reminders for everyone. So just want to remind everybody that all of our 11th graders are taking the SAT on March 2nd, which is Thursday. Yep. And all of our 9th, 10th, and 12th graders will have a remote learning days. So if you're not aware of that, get that on your calendar. And then next week, March 7th, on Tuesday, will be the FWCS Passport to Pre-K at Northside High School from 5 to 8. So if you have any neighbors, friends, family that need to get their kiddos signed up for pre-K, we'd love to see them next Tuesday at Northside. And just to piggyback off Julie's comment, I've been down to the State House several times, and every time I talk with legislators, they say that we're doing the school choice program, the voucher and charter program, to give parents options. But it still just baffles me. And it makes me really proud that over 90% of Hoosier families pick public schools for their children. And so I'm just, this is a lot for 10% of the Hoosier population. And it is also public school week, so yay to public schools, and yay that over 90% of our families send their children to public schools. We need to fully fund public education. So. And with that, I will wrap up board member comments. Our next meeting is Monday, March 13th. Do we have?
Move we adjourn.
Thanks.
Second.
Thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.